The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure that orbited the glowing world of Velthara Prime. Inside its walls, 12 different species gathered around a circular table that seemed to glow with its own light. This was the Galactic Council, the governing body that had ruled this section of the galaxy for 10,000 years. Captain Day One stood at the back of the observation deck, his hands clasped behind his uniform. His ship, the Teguk Horizon, waited in orbit nearby. He watched Ambassador Hyojin standing alone at the center of the chamber, surrounded by alien beings who looked down at her from their elevated seats. Some had scales, others had crystals growing from their skin, and one seemed to be made entirely of liquid metal that constantly shifted and moved. The chairman spoke first. His name was Vexthara, and his body was made of purple crystals that caught the light and threw it back in sharp angles. His voice echoed through the chamber like glass breaking. Ambassador of Earth, we have reviewed your application for membership in the Galactic Council. For the 7th time, we must reject it. Hyojin remained calm. She had expected this. May I ask why, Chairman? Your species is too young, too violent, too unpredictable, Vexithara said. The other council members nodded their agreement, their various heads bobbing in a strange chorus. You have only been traveling between stars for 50 years. We have civilizations here that have been spacefaring for millions of years. You are children playing with toys you do not understand. Another counselor leaned forward. This one had 6 eyes and skin that looked like tree bark. Furthermore, the 12 colony worlds you have established are in violation of established territorial agreements. You did not ask permission to settle those systems. Those systems were empty, Hyojin said. Her voice was steady, but Daiwan could hear the steel underneath. We surveyed them for years. No one lived there. No one claimed them. We followed every law we could find. Ignorance of proper procedure is not an excuse, Vexthara replied. Therefore, the Council has come to a decision. You will surrender all claims to those 12 worlds. You will pay resource access fees for the space your ships travel through, and Earth will accept vassal status under Council authority. These are our terms. The chamber fell silent. Daywan felt his jaw tighten. Vassal status meant Earth would have no real freedom. They would be servants, not equals. Every decision would need council approval. Every ship would need permission to fly. It would be the end of human independence among the stars. Hyojin took a slow breath. And if we refuse these terms? Then the council will enforce compliance protocols, Vexthara said simply. Our fleets will visit your worlds and remind you of the proper order of things. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 10 millennia, Ambassador. We will not allow one stubborn species to disrupt that peace. I see. Hyojin looked around at the council members, meeting each of their alien eyes. Then my answer is no. Earth will not surrender its colonies. We will not pay tribute for traveling through empty space. And we will never accept being vassals to anyone. The chamber erupted in noise. Some counselors laughed, their various voices creating sounds that hurt human ears. Others shouted in anger. Vexithara raised one crystalline hand and the room fell silent again. You are making a terrible mistake, the chairman said. Do you understand what you are refusing? The council has armies. We have technologies your species cannot imagine. We have kept order in this galaxy since before your ancestors learned to make fire. Perhaps, Hyojin said, but we learned something important from our history. Freedom is worth fighting for. We would rather stand alone than kneel together. Vexithara's crystals seemed to glow brighter with anger. Very well. You have 72 hours to remove all human vessels from council space. After that, any human ship we encounter will be seized. Any human colony will be occupied. You have chosen poorly, Ambassador. Hyojin bowed slightly, a gesture of politeness that seemed to confuse the aliens. Then she turned and walked toward the exit. Daywan fell into step beside her. Neither of them spoke until they were back aboard the Teguk Horizon. The ship's bridge was quiet as they entered. The crew looked up hopefully, but one glance at their faces told everyone what had happened. Lieutenant Tae Yang was the first to speak. They rejected us again? Worse, Daewon said, taking his seat in the captain's chair. They demanded we surrender everything, become their servants or face their fleets, and we said no, Hee-jin added. She looked tired but proud. We have 3 days to leave council space. After that, they will consider us hostile. The helmsman, a young woman named Mi-young, turned in her seat. Captain, what are our orders? Daewon smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. Set course for Earth, maximum speed, and send a priority message to Defense Command. Tell them it is time to activate Protocol Phoenix. Several crew members exchanged glances. Protocol Phoenix was something they had heard whispered about but never discussed openly. It was Earth's secret plan, the thing they had been preparing for years while the Council laughed at them. As the Taiguk horizon turned away from the great chamber and jumped into faster-than-light travel, Daewon stood and looked at the stars streaking past the windows. Hee-jin came to stand beside him. Do you think they have any idea what is coming? She asked quietly. No, Daewon replied. They think we are primitive. They think we are weak. They have no idea what humans do when someone threatens everything we have built. We have been preparing for this, Hee-jin said. For 50 years, while they dismissed us, we have been innovating, learning, building. They shared their technology freely among themselves because they never saw each other as threats. But we had to create everything ourselves, and that made us stronger, Daewon finished. They have been using the same weapons, the same ships, the same tactics for thousands of years, but we have something they have forgotten about. What is that? Daewon turned to look at her, and now his smile was real. We remember how to fight for what we believe in. We remember that sometimes the only way to earn respect is to show strength. The Council is about to learn that humanity is not a child playing with toys. We are the future of this galaxy, and we will not be denied. The ship hummed around them as it raced toward Earth, carrying the news that would change everything. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their meeting, confident that the human problem would be solved quickly and easily. They had no idea that they had just made the biggest mistake in their 10,000-year history. The galaxy was about to discover what happens when you underestimate Earth. The war room deep beneath Geneva was filled with screens showing star maps, ship positions, and tactical data that updated every second. Commander Jinwoo stood at the center of it all, his fingers moving across a holographic display that showed the entire human territory in space. Around him, officers from every branch of Earth's military watched and waited. The doors opened and Captain Daewon entered with Ambassador Hye-jin. They looked exhausted from their journey, but their eyes were alert and focused. Jinwoo turned to greet them. Welcome home, he said. I received your message. The Council rejected us and made demands. They want us to give up everything, Hye-jin said. She moved to stand beside the display. All our colonies, our freedom to travel. They want us to become their servants. And when we refused, they gave us 3 days to leave their space, Daewon added. After that, they will enforce what they call compliance protocols. That means war. Jinwoo nodded slowly. He had been preparing for this moment for 20 years. Then it is time they learned who they are dealing with. Let me show you what we have been building. He touched the display and the star map changed. Now it showed New Jeju, the largest human colony world. Over 3 million people live there now, farming and mining and building a new society under alien skies. It looked peaceful and undefended. New Jeju appears to be an easy target, Jinwoo said. No warships in orbit, no obvious defenses. The Council will likely strike there first to make an example. He smiled. That is exactly what we want them to think. Another officer stepped forward. Her name was Dr. Bora, and she was the head of Earth's advanced weapons research. She wore civilian clothes but carried herself with military precision. For 50 years, the Council has dismissed us. They shared technology freely among themselves because they never saw each other as threats. But they never shared anything with us. So we had to invent everything ourselves, Jinwoo continued. And that made us dangerous. While they used the same old technology, the same old tactics, we innovated. We created new weapons, new defenses, new ways of fighting that the galaxy has never seen. The display changed again. Now it showed what looked like ordinary satellites orbiting New Jeju. These look like communication satellites, Bora explained. But they are actually railgun platforms. Each one can fire a metal slug at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy alone can tear through any shield the Council uses. Daewon leaned closer. How many do we have? Around New Jeju? 300 platforms. Around all our colony worlds? Over 2,000. Jinwoo pulled up another screen. And that is just the beginning. Show them the drones, Bo-Ra. The scientist touched her own control pad. The display now showed what looked like small dots, thousands of them. Swarm drones. Each one is about the size of a basketball. They carry no weapons, just sophisticated AI and a small explosive charge. But they work together like a hive mind. They learn from each battle in real time. They adapt to enemy defenses faster than any organic mind can counter. The Council's point defense systems are designed to stop large missiles and torpedoes, Jinwoo said. They have never faced thousands of small targets that think and coordinate with each other. Their computers will not be able to keep up. A young officer spoke up from his station. Sir, we are also getting reports from Lieutenant Taeyang's squadron. The new fighters are ready. Excellent. Jinwoo brought up an image of a sleek spacecraft that looked nothing like traditional Council ships. Our fighters are smaller and faster than anything the Council flies. More importantly, they are unpredictable. Council pilots train in standardized formations. They follow the same tactics that have worked for thousands of years. But our pilots train to improvise, to take risks, to think creatively in the middle of battle. Heejin studied the displays with growing understanding. You have been planning for this since the first day we met the Council. Since the first day they laughed at us, Jinwoo corrected. Every time they dismissed us as primitive, we used that time to build something new. Every time they refused to share their technology, we invented our own. Better technology. They grew comfortable. We grew hungry. Daewon walked around the display, examining every detail. What about reinforcements? If they attack New Jeju, can we get help there in time? Dr. Bo-Ra smiled. It was the kind of smile that made people nervous. That brings us to our greatest achievement. The quantum slip drive. Council ships use standard faster-than-light drives that have not changed in millennia. Our new drives are 10 times faster, and they can do something Council technology says is impossible. What is that? Hyojin asked. We can arrive from multiple directions at the same instant, Bo-Ra explained. Council sensors work on the assumption that ships travel in predictable patterns. But quantum slip drives let us plot courses through space that should not exist. We can arrive from angles they do not expect. We can surround an enemy fleet before they realize they are in danger. Jinwoo pulled up a tactical simulation. It showed a Council fleet attacking New Jeju, confident in their numbers and power. Then human ships appeared from 3 directions at once, boxing the enemy in. The simulation showed the Council fleet's confusion, their failed attempts to adapt, and their eventual destruction. We have run this simulation 10,000 times, Jinwoo said quietly, using every possible variation of Council tactics we could imagine. In every single simulation we win. Not because we have more ships, we do not. Not because we have bigger weapons, we do not. We win because we think differently. We fight differently. We are unpredictable in ways they cannot counter. An alarm sounded at one of the stations. A young analyst named Jae-hoon looked up with wide eyes. Commander, we are picking up Council fleet movements. A large force is gathering near the border of our space. Jinwoo moved to look at the sensor data. How many ships? Over 300, sir. It is the Velthari enforcement fleet. They are known for putting down rebellions and enforcing Council law. And they are heading toward New Jeju, Daewon observed, watching the projected course on the display. Right on schedule, Jinwoo said. There was no fear in his voice. They want to make an example of our largest colony. Show the rest of humanity what happens when you defy the Council. Their admiral is probably already preparing his victory speech. Heejin looked worried despite the confidence around her. 300 ships. How many do we have in that sector? 75 combat vessels, Jinwoo replied. But we also have the orbital platforms, the drone swarms, and most importantly, we have something they do not expect. We have people who refuse to surrender, who refuse to kneel, who have been waiting for this moment for 50 years. He turned to face the room full of officers. Send the order. Activate Protocol Phoenix at New Jeju. All defense platforms online. All fighter squadrons to ready status. All drone swarms to autonomous control. And get me a direct line to Governor Ji-hoon on the surface. I want every civilian in shelters before the Council arrives. The room burst into activity as officers relayed commands across light years of space. Daewon watched the screens update. showing defenses coming online all around New Jeju. What had looked like an undefended colony world suddenly bristled with hidden weapons. "How long until the Council fleet arrives?" he asked. Jinwoo checked the data. 6 hours. Plenty of time for us to prepare the welcome they deserve. Dr. Bora came to stand beside them, watching the preparations unfold. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They think they know everything. They think no one can challenge them. Today they learn that evolution does not stop, that innovation beats tradition, that humanity will not be denied. Hyejin looked at the image of New Jeju on the screen, thinking of the millions of people living their lives down there. Will we really be able to protect them? Jinwoo met her eyes with absolute certainty. Ambassador, the Council is about to attack what they think is a defenseless colony. Instead, they are walking into the most sophisticated trap in military history. When this is over, the whole galaxy will know that humans do not just defend themselves. We win. The countdown began. 6 hours until the Council learned that humanity was not prey. 6 hours until the galaxy changed forever. The Velthari enforcement fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 300 warships arranged in precise geometric patterns, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls gleamed with the purple and gold colors of the Council, and their weapons were already charging for the attack. Admiral Crossitar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Justice. He was a tall being with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. He had led enforcement actions on 17 different worlds, and each time the result was the same. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, and remind the galaxy who held the power. Begin planetary scan, he ordered. His voice was deep and confident. Identify all population centers. I want the humans to see our ships in their sky. I want them to understand their mistake. His tactical officer worked the controls. Sir, scans show approximately 3 million humans on the surface. Multiple cities. Agriculture and mining operations. But I'm detecting something unusual. What is it? There are numerous satellites in orbit. Far more than a colony this size should need. And they are positioned in defensive patterns. Crosstar laughed. It was a harsh sound. The humans think satellites will protect them from the Council's fleet? Open a communication channel to the planetary governor. I want to give them one chance to surrender before we demonstrate our power. On the surface of New Jeju, Governor Ji-hoon sat in the emergency command center deep underground. His civilian staff had been replaced by military personnel, and every screen around him showed the Council fleet in orbit above. His hands were steady as he touched the communication control. This is Governor Ji-hoon of New Jeju. State your business in our space. Crosstar's image appeared on the screen. I am Admiral Crossitar of the Velthari Enforcement Fleet. By order of the Galactic Council, this world is now under our jurisdiction. You will surrender all authority immediately. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. You have 5 minutes to comply. Ji-hoon looked at the timer counting down on his screen. Then he looked at the hundreds of icons representing hidden weapons all around his world. Admiral, I have a counteroffer. You have 5 minutes to leave this system before we show you what happens when you threaten human lives. The alien admiral's face showed something between amusement and disbelief. You dare threaten me with what? Your communications satellites? He turned to his weapons officer. Target their largest city. Prepare to fire a warning shot that will take out 1 square kilometer. Let us show them the price of defiance. Sir, the satellites are moving, the tactical officer said suddenly. They are repositioning, and I am detecting massive power buildups. These are not communication satellites. They are weapons platforms. Crossiter spun to look at his screens just as 300 satellites opened fire at once. Metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds streaked through space. The Council ships raised their shields, confident in technology that had protected them for thousands of years. The slugs punched through the shields like they were made of paper. Kinetic energy, pure physics, too much force moving too fast for any shield to stop. 12 Velthari ships exploded in the first 3 seconds. 20 more lost engines or weapons or life support. The perfect formation shattered as ships scrambled to evade fire coming from hundreds of different angles. Return fire, Croster screamed. All ships engage those platforms. The Council fleet unleashed its weapons. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled the space around New Jeju. But the human platforms were small, mobile, and there were so many of them. For every platform destroyed, 3 more opened fire. The Council's targeting computers were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not for tracking hundreds of independent targets that moved unpredictably. Then the drones launched. From hidden bays on New Jeju's 2 moons, thousands of small objects streaked into space. They looked like metal spheres too small to be proper weapons. The Veltari point defense systems locked onto them and began firing. That was when the drones showed what they could do. They moved as one coordinated swarm, each drone calculating the optimal path based on what thousands of other drones were experiencing. When point defense targeted one cluster, the drones split apart and reformed elsewhere. When the Council ships tried to predict their movements, the AI learned and adapted in real time. The drones reached the first line of Velthari ships. Small explosive charges detonated against engines, against weapons, against sensor arrays. Individually, each explosion did little damage, but hundreds of drones hitting one ship, all targeting the same systems, could cripple a vessel in seconds. "Sir, we have lost 47 ships," the tactical officer reported. 63 more are damaged. The humans have some kind of coordinated attack system. Our computers cannot track all the individual targets. Crostar could not believe what he was seeing. This was supposed to be easy. A simple show of force against a primitive colony. Deploy all fighters. Clear those drones from our ships, and someone tell me where their warships are. As if in answer to his question, Lieutenant Tae Yang's voice crackled across the human communication network. "Baekduwing, this is Lead. All fighters, you are free to engage. Show them what human pilots can do." 75 human fighters launched from hidden bases on New Jeju's surface and moons. They were tiny compared to the massive Council warships, but they moved with incredible speed and agility. Each one was piloted by a human who had trained for this moment their entire career. The Council launched their own fighters to intercept. 200 alien craft in perfect formation, flying with textbook precision. They expected the humans to meet them head-on, to fight with the same organized tactics every species used. Instead, Tae Yang's squadron scattered in all directions. They flew in patterns that seemed random but were carefully calculated chaos. They dove and rolled and spun in ways that Council pilots, trained in rigid formations, could not predict. Human fighters were smaller targets, faster engines, and most importantly, pilots who knew how to improvise. Tae Yang flew his fighter through a gap between 2 Council vessels, so close that alarm screamed in his cockpit. He fired as he passed, his weapon stitching a line across one ship's engine section. Then he was through and gone before the enemy could react, already lining up his next target. "This is Lead. Remember your training. They fly like machines. We fly like we are alive. Use it." All across the battlefield, human pilots were doing exactly that, taking risks no Council pilot would ever consider, making split-second decisions based on instinct and experience, rather than programmed responses. The alien fighters were technically superior, but technology could not account for human creativity and the willingness to push limits. Captain So-min watched the battle from the orbital defense station, Gwemgang. She commanded the railgun platforms and had just received the signal she had been waiting for. "All stations, this is Gwemgang Actual. Reinforcements inbound. Prepare to provide covering fire." Space itself seemed to tear open as human warships arrived using quantum slip drives, but they did not arrive from one direction like a normal reinforcement fleet. They appeared from 3 different angles at once, something Council sensors said was impossible. 75 human warships suddenly surrounded the Velthari fleet that had thought it was doing the surrounding. Admiral Crostar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. How is this possible? Their drives cannot do this. Admiral, we are surrounded," his tactical officer said, and for the first time there was fear in his voice. "Recommend immediate withdrawal." "No. We outnumber them 4-1. We are the Velthari enforcement fleet. We do not run from primitives." But the battle was already over. The human ships fired in coordinated strikes, their AI calculating the optimal targets while human commanders made the final decisions. The remaining Council ships were caught between the warships, the orbital platforms, the drone swarms, and the fighters. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run that was not covered by human weapons. Ship after ship went dark as engines failed, or weapons exploded, or life support was compromised. The drones were relentless. The fighters were everywhere. The railgun platforms never stopped firing, and through it all the human warships advanced with cold precision. "Sir, we have lost 253 ships," the tactical officer reported. His voice was shaking. Most of the survivors are too damaged to fight. We must retreat. Krostar looked at the carnage on his screens. 4 hours ago he had commanded 300 vessels. Now he had 47 ships limping away from the battle, and most of those would need months of repairs. His flagship shuddered as another drone impact knocked out a secondary system. All ships, he said quietly, fall back. Retreat to Council space. As the Velthari fleet fled, Governor Jihoon stood in his command center watching them go. Not a single human city had been damaged. Total casualties were 12 fighters lost and 37 personnel. The Council had lost over 250 ships and thousands of crew. He opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. This is New Jeju. The Council fleet has been defeated. The colony is secure. Across human space, from Earth to the furthest colonies, people celebrated. But in the Galactic Council chamber, there was only stunned silence as the reports came in. The news of the Battle of New Jeju spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. 300 Council ships destroyed or crippled by a human colony that was supposed to be defenseless. Within hours, every species in Council space knew that something fundamental had changed. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos reigned. Councillor Vexthera stood at his position, his crystalline body glowing red with anger as he addressed the other members. This is unacceptable. The humans must be crushed immediately. We cannot allow this insult to stand! But not everyone agreed. Councillor Miralta, a reptilian being with green scales and intelligent eyes, remained calm in her seat. Perhaps we should ask ourselves how this happened. The Velthari enforcement fleet was one of our strongest forces. How did the humans defeat them so completely? It does not matter how, Vexithera shouted. What matters is that they dared to fight back. If we do not respond with overwhelming force, other species will begin to question our authority. The entire council system could collapse. A third councillor spoke up, this one a being of liquid metal that shifted constantly. Miralta asks a valid question. Our intelligence said the humans were primitive, that their technology was decades behind ours. Yet they used weapons we have never seen, tactics we could not counter. Perhaps our intelligence was wrong. Or perhaps the humans have been hiding their true capabilities, another councillor added. This one resembled a giant insect with multifaceted eyes. While we dismissed them, they were preparing for war. Miralta stood from her seat. I propose we invite the human ambassador back. Let us hear what they want. Perhaps there is a diplomatic solution. Diplomatic solution? Vexthara's crystals flashed with light. They destroyed a council fleet. There is only one response to such aggression. We must assemble the combined armada. We will take ships from every member species and show the humans what real power looks like. We will not just defeat them. We will make an example that the galaxy will never forget. The debate continued for hours. Some councillors agreed with Vexithara, calling for immediate military action. Others sided with Miralta, suggesting caution and negotiation. The council had not been this divided in centuries. Finally, a vote was called. The Hawks won. 7 species committed ships to a new fleet that would dwarf the Velthari force. The order went out across council space. Assemble at the border of human territory. 2,000 warships from 7 different species. The largest military force the council had deployed in living memory. But Miralta was not finished. After the session ended, she returned to her private chambers and activated a secure communication channel. The screen showed Ambassador Hyejin on Earth. Ambassador, Miralta said quietly, I am taking a great risk contacting you, but you must understand what is happening. The Council is assembling a massive fleet, 2,000 ships. They will attack your worlds within days. Hyejin's face remained calm, but her eyes showed concern. We expected retaliation. We are preparing defenses. You do not understand, Miralta insisted. The Council is afraid now. They see you as a threat to their power. They will not simply try to defeat you. They will try to destroy you completely. Every human world. Every human ship. They want to erase you from the galaxy. Then we will have to show them that we cannot be erased, Hyejin replied. Thank you for the warning, Counselor. May I ask why you are helping us? Miralta's expression was hard to read, but there was something like sadness in her eyes. Because the Council has grown old and rigid. We have ruled for so long that we forgot how to change, how to adapt. Your people represent something we lost long ago, the willingness to innovate, to take risks, to fight for what you believe in. If the Council destroys that spirit, we will all be poorer for it. What would you have us do? Show them something they cannot ignore. Something so impressive that even the hawks cannot deny your right to exist. Show them that humanity is not just strong. Show them that you are the future. The communication ended. Hee-jin sat in her office at Earth Defense Command, thinking about Miralta's words. Around her, the preparations for war continued. Every human world was fortifying its defenses. Every ship was being loaded with the new weapons that had proven so effective at New Jeju. Commander Jin Woo entered the office, followed by Dr. Bo-ra and Engineer Jae-hoon. They carried data pads filled with information about the coming battle. The Council fleet is larger than we expected, Jin Woo said. 2,000 ships from 7 species. They are bringing everything they have. Can we win against those numbers? Hee-jin asked. Dr. Bo-ra set down her data pad. With conventional tactics? No, even with our advantages, we would eventually be overwhelmed. But we have been working on something new, something that could change everything. She activated a holographic display showing a device that looked like a satellite crossed with a power generator. We call it Project Sundial. It is an electromagnetic pulse weapon, but far more advanced than anything that has existed before. One pulse from this device can disable every electronic system in a massive area of space. How massive? Hee-jin asked. Enough to cover a fleet of 2,000 ships, Jae-hoon replied. The young engineer looked nervous but excited. We have been testing it in secret for 3 years. The theory is sound. One pulse and every Council ship within range will lose engines, weapons, communications, and life support. They will be completely helpless. Jinwoo pulled up tactical projections. Of course, using such a weapon is risky. It could be seen as too aggressive, too dangerous. The Council might convince other species that we are a threat to everyone, not just them. Or, Yejin said slowly, it could show them that we have weapons they cannot match, that fighting us is pointless, that the only rational choice is to accept us as equals. It is a gamble, Dr. Bo-ra admitted. But this entire situation is a gamble. We either show the Council our full strength or we fight a long war that will cost millions of lives on both sides. Hee-jin stood and walked to the window overlooking Geneva. Below, people went about their lives, unaware that the fate of humanity was being decided in this room. How long until Project Sundial is ready? It is already built, Jae-hoon said. Hidden in an asteroid at the edge of our space. We just need to activate it, then do it. But make sure it is positioned where it will do the most good. I want that Council fleet to walk right into our trap. 3 days later, Field Marshal Yeon-soo stood on the bridge of the flagship Dokdo, watching the Council armada approach human space. She was a veteran of 30 years in the military, and she had never seen so many enemy ships in one place. The display showed them in a massive formation, moving with the confidence of beings who had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They think we are going to run, her tactical officer said. Let them think that, Yeon-soo replied, right up until the moment we spring the trap. Status on Project Sundial? Fully charged and ready. Specialist Mi-young is standing by to activate on your command. Yeon-soo opened a channel to all human ships in the fleet. 400 vessels, small compared to the enemy force, but filled with crews who knew what they were fighting for. All ships, this is Marshal Yeon-soo. The Council thinks they can intimidate us with numbers. They think we will surrender when we see their fleet. They are wrong. Today we show them that humanity bows to no one. Today we show them what happens when you threaten Earth. All ships move to attack positions. And may history remember this day. Captain Daewon, now commanding a squadron of warships, listened to the Marshal's speech and smiled. The Taeguk Horizon had been upgraded with the latest weapons and was ready for battle. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this, prepared for this, and now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. The Council fleet reached the edge of human space and stopped. A transmission came through. Admiral Crosstar's replacement demanding immediate surrender. Marshal Yeon-soo did not bother to respond. Instead, she gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Activate Project Sundial. Let us teach the Council about human innovation. The Council armada filled space with its presence. 2,000 warships from 7 different species, arranged in layers of battle formations that had been perfected over millennia. In the command ship at the center of this massive fleet, Admiral Treshkan reviewed the final attack plans. He was a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, and he had been chosen to lead this force because of his reputation for crushing rebellions. The humans have deployed their fleet, his tactical officer reported. 400 ships. They are outnumbered 5-1. Treshkan's energy form pulsed with satisfaction. As expected, they won their little victory at New Jeju, and now they think they can challenge the entire council. Open a channel. I want the humans to understand what is about to happen to them. The communication screen activated, showing Field Marshal Yan Su on the bridge of her flagship. Treshkan spoke with absolute confidence. Human Commander, I am Admiral Treshkan of the Galactic Council Combined Armada. You see before you 2,000 warships representing the unified military might of 7 civilizations. You cannot win. You cannot even survive. I am authorized to offer terms one final time. Surrender now, dismantle all your weapons, and accept vassal status. You have 1 hour to comply. If you refuse, we will destroy every human vessel in space, and then proceed to your worlds. The choice is yours. Yansu looked at him calmly. Admiral, your civilization has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. You have forgotten what it means to face a real challenge. You have forgotten that technology without innovation becomes obsolete. And you have forgotten that the strongest force in the universe is not the biggest fleet or the oldest empire. It is the determination of people fighting for their freedom. Philosophical speeches will not save you, Treshkan replied. No, Yansu agreed, but this will. Specialist Mi Young, activate Project Sundial. Hidden in an asteroid at the precise center of the Council fleet's formation, a device that looked like a small satellite powered up. It had been placed there weeks ago, disguised as space debris, waiting for this exact moment. Engineer Jae-hoon had designed it perfectly. Dr. Bora had calculated the power requirements down to the last detail, and now Specialist Mi Young, a young woman who had dedicated 5 years of her life to this project, pressed the activation sequence. The electromagnetic pulse that erupted from Project Sundial was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not the crude electronic disruption of old Earth technology. This was a quantum-level interference wave that Bora's team had designed specifically to interact with Council power systems. It expanded in a perfect sphere, moving at the speed of light, passing through shields as if they did not exist. On the Council command ship, every screen went black. The lights died, the engines stopped. Life support switched to emergency backup. In the span of 3 seconds, 1,847 warships simply stopped working. They hung in space like dead metal monuments to overconfidence. What happened? Treshkan screamed in the darkness of his ship. Tactical report. All systems offline, sir, came a panicked voice. Engines, weapons, shields, communications, sensors. Everything is dead. Emergency power only. We are helpless. Across the Council fleet, the same scene played out on ship after ship. Crew members stumbled in the dark, trying to understand what had happened. Engineers worked frantically to restart systems that simply would not respond. Captains demanded answers that no one could provide. Only 153 Council ships survived the pulse, and those only because they had been positioned at the very edge of the formation, partially shielded by other vessels. These ships immediately broke formation and began retreating, their commanders wise enough to recognize a complete disaster when they saw one. The human fleet, positioned carefully outside the pulse radius, moved forward. 400 ships advancing on nearly 2,000 disabled enemies. But there was no attack, no weapons fire, no destruction. The human ships simply surrounded the helpless Council vessels and waited. Captain Daewon watched from the bridge of the Taeguk horizon as his ship took position near a disabled Council battleship. It is over, he said quietly. They cannot fight. They cannot run. They cannot even call for help. The Council Armada has been defeated without us firing a single shot. On the human flagship, Marshal Yan Su opened a communication channel that broadcast to every Council ship. Admiral Treshkan, your fleet is disabled, but your crews are safe. We could destroy you now, but we will not. We are not conquerors. We are not interested in revenge. We simply want what every species deserves. The right to exist, the right to be free, the right to be treated as equals. She paused, letting her words sink in. Your ship's systems will recover in approximately 12 hours. When they do, You will be free to return to Council space. Take this message back to your leaders. Earth is willing to negotiate, but we will never surrender. We will never submit. And if you attack us again, the result will be the same. Tell them that humanity has arrived among the stars, and we are here to stay. 3 days later, the Galactic Council chamber was filled with an atmosphere of shock and disbelief. The recording of the battle played on screens around the room. 2,000 ships, the pride of the Council, disabled in seconds by a weapon the Council did not know existed, then left floating helplessly while the human fleet surrounded them, but did not attack. Councillor Vexathera tried to speak, but for once his voice failed him. His crystalline body had lost its glow and he seemed smaller somehow. Defeated, it was Councillor Miralta who finally broke the silence. The evidence is clear. Humanity possesses technology superior to ours in several critical areas. Their tactical abilities are exceptional, and most importantly, they showed restraint when they could have destroyed our entire fleet. These are not the actions of a primitive species. These are the actions of a civilization that deserves recognition. Another counselor, the one with 6 eyes, spoke up reluctantly. I agree. We have underestimated the humans catastrophically. Continuing to fight them will only lead to more losses. Perhaps it is time to consider their original request. They want to give them membership? Vexathara finally found his voice. After they humiliated us? After they destroyed 2 fleets? They destroyed 2 fleets that attacked them first, Miralta corrected. Earth has acted only in self-defense. They have broken no council laws because we never gave them the chance to follow any. We rejected them. We demanded they surrender their freedom. We sent fleets to force compliance. Every step of the way we were the aggressors, and now we have learned the price of that aggression. The debate continued for 3 days. The Council had not been forced to reconsider its position in living memory, and the process was painful, but slowly, reluctantly, minds began to change. The military leaders admitted that fighting humanity was pointless. The scientists studied the recordings and realized that human innovation had surpassed Council technology in key areas. The politicians saw that other species were watching, and if the Council appeared weak or unjust, the entire system could collapse. Finally, a vote was called. Should humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and protections that entailed? Ambassador Hye-jin stood in the chamber once more, just as she had months ago when she was rejected. But this time the atmosphere was different. There was respect in the eyes looking at her, and perhaps a little fear. The vote came quickly. 11 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention from Vexathara, who could not bring himself to vote yes, but also could not deny reality. It is decided, Miralta announced. Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Welcome, Ambassador Hye-jin. Welcome to the community of civilized worlds. Hye-jin bowed respectfully. Thank you, counselors. Earth looks forward to working with all of you. We have much to learn from your experiences, and perhaps we have some things to teach as well. The ceremony that followed was broadcast across the galaxy. The human flag rose beside the Council banner for the first time. Treaties were signed, establishing Earth's borders, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. It was the beginning of a new era. Months later, Captain Daewon stood on the observation deck of the Teguk Horizon, which had been officially designated as a Council peacekeeping vessel. His ship now patrolled the space lanes, protecting trade ships from pirates and responding to emergencies. Lieutenant Tae-yang had become an instructor, teaching alien pilots about adaptive tactics and creative thinking. Dr. Bo-ra and Engineer Jae-hoon were leading a joint research initiative with scientists from 5 different species. Commander Jin-woo had overseen the decommissioning of the Project Sundial weapons. Earth no longer needed them. The message had been sent and received. Now it was time to build rather than threaten. On Earth, a young girl named Soo-jin watched the news with her family. She saw the human ships working alongside alien vessels. She saw her planet's representatives sitting as equals in the Galactic Council. She turned to her father, who had fought at the Battle of New Jeju. Will they be afraid of us now? she asked. Her father smiled and pulled her close. No, little one, they will respect us, and that is much better. Fear makes enemies, but respect makes friends. Sujin thought about that for a moment. Will there be more fighting?